You're welcome to The Point of View. The Point of View is your favorite current affairs program on television. On The Point of View, we select the right topic, we bring the right guest, ask relevant questions, and we leave you with insights at the end of the day. Tonight, we're looking at the Anto-Aboso quarry explosion, the deaths, injuries, and safety concerns, whether indeed we've learned any lessons from explosions which have happened in the past. My name is Anto-Aboso, sitting in for your regular host, Bernard Kokoable, who is on assignment. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Point of View, for more episodes on this particular program. Hi, you're welcome to The Point of View. The Point of View is your favorite current affairs program on television. On The Point of View, we select the right topic, bring the right guest, ask the relevant questions, and often leave you with insights. Tonight, we are looking at the big topic of explosions in our country. There's been a number of explosions recorded in our country over the years. The recent in our memory being the June 3 disaster, which was an explosion, you may say, in the oil and gas sector. Of course, sometime in 2017, we had another explosion at Atomic that became the trigger for what we call the cylinder recirculation module or program. Also, sometime in 2015, there was another explosion at a place called Paibo in Sawam, and that happened in the mining sector, specifically in a quarry. In 2022, last year, January, there was a unique kind of explosion, call it the explosive explosion, which happened along the Anto-Aboso and Furi Road, where a truck carrying explosives exploded. A whole village called Apiati was destroyed. About 13 people died and several people injured. Many people were displaced, and indeed the government began an initiative to rebuild the whole community. We have all of these on our hands. And over the weekend, there was yet another explosion. And that explosion has left about 5 people dead. And indeed, that explosion happened at a place called Anto-Aboso in a quarry in the Shama district of the Western region. That has become the big subject of discussion throughout the weekend and the whole of today. And we want to focus some attention on that on The Point of View tonight. So this is our discussion tonight. My name is Anto-Aboso, sitting in for a regular host, Bernard Kokoable, who is on assignment. The show is live and interactive as always. You can join the discussion. It's on Facebook. You can join it also via the WhatsApp line that will be displayed on the screen for you pretty shortly. We'll take a short break, return, and then we'll get a discussion underway. You're welcome back to The Point of View tonight. Our discussion is on the Anto-Aboso quarry explosion. A number of deaths have been recorded, a number of injuries, and our question or our concern really are about the safety matters. What lessons have we learned in the past instances of explosions? Sometime last year, January last year actually, there was the Apiati explosion where a whole community was destroyed when a truck of explosives was traveling to another mining area and then got collided with a motorcycle. That led to an explosion which destroyed the whole township. Government has been trying to rebuild that community, set up an endowment fund, to raise money, find the Maxam company which owned the explosives at the time, some $6 million, and a number of things have happened around that arena. Also, in 2015, a similar explosion occurred at a place called Paibo in Sawam. A few people died, many people were displaced, etc. So these explosions in the mining sector have been happening. This particular Anto-Aboso quarry explosion, of course, happened in a quarry, and often what we hear is that either the people did not follow a regulation, they did not have some permit, etc. But the question keeps coming, why do we wait till something happens before we begin bringing up issues of compliance, etc.? That is our discussion today. And to help me do the discussion will be Dr. Nanayawa Kwada, newly minted PhD, Dr. Nanaya Wakwada, Executive Director, the Bureau of Public Safety, the Honorable John Jinapo, Member of Parliament for Yapei Kusewu, and also ranking member on the Energy and Mines Committee of Parliament. We also have the Honorable Kobna Ochri Dako Mensah, who is a Western Regional Minister of our Republic. Indeed, this incident happened in the Western region and he's been on the beat. We'll also be joined by our Western Regional correspondent, Akwesi Nimeje. He has been our man on the ground, picking up signals and ensuring that we provide you the necessary updates. So let me start off with him, Akwesi Nimeje, to bring us up to speed on what has been happening in the particular community, the Anto-Aboso community. Hello, Akwesi, welcome to the Point of View. We've been speaking on this matter since it happened over the weekend and throughout the day. Can you bring us up to speed on what the situation is in terms of the death numbers, injured, those discharged from hospital, and what the relief efforts have been so far in the community?
Well, Salam, good evening. And to start with, I would say you forgot about 2017, another disaster that we also recorded here at a place called Chinese, where not less than 5 people also died from a gas explosion. And that happened in Takrady at a place called Chinese. And now to start with, I mean, the current subject that we are discussing, which is the quarry site explosion that happened on Saturday after 10 p.m. In a community called, near a community called Kobina Andokrum, which is basically located within an electoral area, which happens to have several communities in there, called Anto-Aboso in the Shama districts of the Western region. And right from yesterday, we ended the day with about 4 persons confirmed death, and then 9 people had already been discharged from the hospital, and we had 5 people who were still receiving treatment from the various hospitals that they were taken to. And then out of that, we still had 4 people that could not be identified because according to the human resource manager of the operators of that quarry, we were made aware that 22 people were at the site at the time the incident happened. And so if you take the 4 people who died, and then you take away the 9 people who had been, discharged as at the time that we got there, together with the 5 people who were still in the hospitals, it was clear that 4 people were still unaccounted for. And so we closed the day, talking of yesterday, with 4 people still outstanding. But early, at dawn, they managed to retrieve 1 body, and according to the NADMO officer, the person's body was retrieved without a head. And that has been the situation with some of the parts, bodies that were retrieved earlier. In fact, 2 of them were basically scattered. Their bodies were scattered all over the place from the explosion. And so in terms of the deceased out of this quarry, we have 5 confirmed now, and then we still having 3 outstanding. If we are to add the last person to the deceased, we still have 3 to go. And so the security agencies have still, throughout the day, still been combing around the site to see if they could locate extra bodies. But what we saw yesterday, it doesn't look like they are likely to have a wholesome body, but possibly, a scattered part of human body. That is what, if they are to find any, the form in which they will come. So that is the situation. But beside that, after that, between yesterday and now, we've had a regional minister setting up a 9-member committee to present their report within 3 weeks. And their terms of reference is for them to find the cause of the incident and make recommendations as to what we can do to prevent some of these happenings, which is becoming too rampant. We've had several regulators also visiting the site. We've had the EPA national boss, Mr. Martin Aisi, Mr. Dr. Henry coming there today, who came to actually confirm that the EPA hasn't actually given them permit to operate, and so the people were operating illegally. And then we also had a visit by the Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Commission, Mr. Martin Aisi, who also said same, that the operators, that is STA, Adsams company, which was actually found operating in the name of Omni Quarry, because when you get to the site, it is very boldly, mounted over there. That's the operator's name is Omni Quarry. So that is what we all, went with. But in the course of the day, the HR manager clarified that there's been a takeover by the STA Adsams operators, and so both the EPA and the Minerals Commission are all saying that they don't have the permits to operate in the first place. And according to them, according to the regulators, even the registered ones or the licensed ones are not supposed to actually keep on their premises explosives overnight. That is, if you go in for, say, 10 explosives and you use 5, you have to return the remaining at the end of your operations to a bank that they've created. They call it magazine. And in the region, they have 3 points where you can return your unused explosives. And so even if they were registered, which they are not, what they would have done, they would have been found culpable for breaching the regulation in terms of how to handle ammonium nitrate or these explosives. And so that is the situation so far. But the concern we're picking from neighboring communities, including the Anto-Aboso, the Kobina and Okrom, is that several of the houses around, out of the impact of the disaster, had their houses also impacted. And so if you visit there, you see louver blaze, windows being weakened, you see their ceilings all coming off, and they are calling on the state, the state to actually come to their aid in fixing these things. And again, the area is started with a lot of, quarries within that catchment of Shama. We could count no less than, 4, 5 quarries within the catchment, and they are saying that they are living on a time bomb. And so the regulators must see to how they can actually regulate them if they are to continue with their operation. So that is the situation so far here in the Western region with this particular incident.
So talk to me about relief efforts. Where are the displaced persons? Of course, the statement issued by the Minerals Commission in the region made us understand that the site of the explosion is the residential facilities of the company. Does that mean that where the explosion happened is different from the site itself where the quarry activities will be taking place? And so does that mean that not so many people live in that area, and so we don't have a lot of displaced persons, or the explosion extended beyond that vicinity and went to another place, or extended to another place where there were a lot of people, and so those people have been displaced? Yes, I think Akwesi's line is having some difficulty. Akwesi, are you back? Are you back, Akwesi? Yeah, so did you hear the question? I'm asking about relief efforts and all of that, and the fact that we are told from the statement from the Minerals Commission. For now,
so far, what we know is that the explosives were actually kept on the premises of the quarry, and then they were sleeping very close by, and so that is one of the illegalities that was found. They are not supposed to keep it there, and unfortunately, they still kept it at a place where they were sleeping close by, and so that is why the impact was so much heavy on the people who were sleeping there. And then in terms of whether the community is so close. The communities, according to the EPA, the site is very much within the, is it 600? I've forgotten the meters within which, the radius within which is a no-go area for settlements. According to them, it is within the safe zone. And so for the impact to still go that far to the neighboring community tells you that they were storing more than, it was expected. And that is why we saw that crater created there in terms of, the impact of the explosion. In terms of relief, so far today we saw a screening being organized by the District Assembly and together with the Ghana Health Service, checking if people, actually sustain any kind of injury. So there's been some screening, but in terms of relief service, I don't think that people are so much in need of any relief service, except for maybe materials to help them fix back their weakened structures and then ceilings that have come off.
Very well. So I could see, hang in there. I will talk to you again. Let me speak to Dr. Nanaya Akwada, who is Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. He's been doing quite a lot of work in the safety arena. Doc, welcome to the program, and congratulations on your PhD. I did not know you were such an academic, but congratulations.
Thank you very much, Salam.
Yes, I know.
Good evening to you and your viewers.
Great. I know you've been dealing with a lot of these matters, but sometimes it becomes one too many. What are we not doing right? We've seen a number of explosions in the past. Here we are with another one in a community called Covenant Chrome. We understand about 5 people have died. 9 people have been discharged from the hospital. 5 are still hospitalized. 1 body was retrieved this morning, and a number of people, about 3 or so, still cannot be accounted for. Is there anything that we are not doing right? Initially, there were talks that the EPA had given some permit to the company in question. The entity, an enterprise, I understand, also came. We are hearing that the EPA did not actually give any permit. The Minerals Commission also says that they applied for restricted mining lease. That hasn't been given. They were in the process. However, the people were working in the night. Is there anything that we are not doing right? Of course, the people have applied for a permit. They've not been given the permit, and they are working. That obviously is wrong. What is our regulatory space not doing right in this sense?
Well, thank you very much, Salom. I think it's a complex of things that as a country we don't seem to get right. One would have thought that after Piate, or if you like, Piate would have been a wake-up call for us as a people. But unfortunately, less than 2 years, we've had a repeat, and sadly, so we've lost lives again. If you ask me what we are not doing right, I'm happy that you have the minister also on this call. Maybe he would be able to share with us exactly what he learned from the Apiate incident report, for which incident investigation, for which we paid, or the state paid monies to gather experts to sit for days, to travel for days in order to ascertain what went wrong in Apiate and how things should change in the industry. He will be able to give us very, very cogent or solid reasons as to why what went wrong. I am getting a call from your producer. Can you hear me well, or there's a problem?
No, I can hear you very well.
Very well. So one, what did we learn from Apiate? Did we learn anything at all? Have we applied them? How did we apply them? After Apiate, what sort of changes, occurred in the industry? Maybe the minister should be able to share those with us since he's on the call. He took receipt of that investigation report. Maybe for once, we as a people should begin to ask or demand of people we have put in places of authority to share with us the dollars or the cities that goes into some of these investigations, because I can't, imagine that in the last 2 decades, we have called for some of these reports to be made public, and all these calls are falling on deaf ears. After Apiate, what were the changes that were supposed to have taken place in the mining industry? We would want to know, possibly on this call. Number 2, why is it possible that a company that has not been authorized to work in this space is able to still go ahead and access or obtain ammonium nitrate? And, for want of a better expression, for the ordinary man on the street, this is a bomb content, okay? It should be a national security matter. And we stated it clear when Apiate happened that we expected a national security, outfit to be interested in Apiate. How are these mining companies, or how are ordinary people going out there without relevant authorizations able to procure these chemical substances, come and store it in the quantities that they do to create this sort of mess and disruptions in our society? We should be concerned, because as far as we know, the EPA has very stringent rules about obtaining ammonium nitrate on the market. They don't even have a market as a market. These are people who are certified and allowed by the EPA to deal in these chemical substances. So if a company that, in the words of the relevant state agencies, they are not licensed, authorized to do this, then their investigation should cut across. It should actually rope in a lot more people. And thirdly, we are here because as a country, we have also failed woefully to speak for the dead. Elsewhere, workplace incidents such as these, if it is established that it came about as a result of willful negligence of some people, those people are criminally prosecuted. Their freedoms are taken away from them, and sometimes even their livelihoods are taken from them. What have we done, after Piate, that we're still having these things, happening? And I think that if we are very careful to understand our place within the sub-region, this incident should let every watcher hair rise, because it should not be easy. It should not be possible for a company without license to be able to procure such substances and store it in quantities in manners that they decide that they want to store it. And then in the next few days, we have this on hand. So once the minister is here, I am happy that I'm on this call. I'll be happy to listen to what we learned from Apiate and what has failed in the the investigation reports that we paid for, and how much we spent on Apiate and how much we are going to spend in this incident as well.
Very well. I get the issue about the regulators sometimes not being sometimes dropping the ball really. But in the statement issued by the Minerals Commission, I take a portion of it. It says that the administrator of the enterprise informed the inspectors that the company was working at night, ostensibly to prevent them from being noticed by the inspectors of the commission and the local task force comprising the police and members of the Sand Winners and Quarry Association. So these were people who clearly knew that what they were doing was wrong, and so they tried to work on the blind side of the authorities. What else could the authorities do? These are bad people who were working in the night. What else could the authorities have done to prevent this?
Hello. It doesn't happen in any serious jurisdiction. It doesn't. Why? Does the, I'm sorry, I have to sound a bit pedestrian. Does the president's bodyguard go to sleep in the night, or do they go to sleep, as it were, on weekends? Do the security of the Flagstaff house vacate the place in the night or do not turn up for work on weekends? Regulators, nowhere in the world do regulators, work up to a certain point and they quit. Okay? That's the job of a regulator. It's only in Ghana that we see people claim that regulators, people who are supposed to regulate spaces, regulate activities, say at night they all go to sleep, and whatever happens at night, when day breaks, they do not know. It's only in our country that you go to sleep, you pass by a place one Friday night, and by Monday morning, a whole building has sprung up and still regulators cannot do anything. This excuse, with all due respect, should be thrown away to the dogs. It's not an excuse that any serious country we should take. So what is their role? If they went to sleep and people are working, are we being told that this was the first time they worked at night? If it is something they've been doing every now and then, the regulator should have moved in. But clearly, they also had something to gain in there. And so now that there's disaster, everyone is coming to tell us what we all know already. We all know that most people who decide to get around the law do these things ostensibly what we call the blind side of the law. But the law has no blind side. The law should not have any blind side. And so we should hold people accountable for some of these actions. At the end of the day, it's going to cost you and it's going to cost me, the taxpayers' money. In Apiati, we fined Maxam $6 million. How much did we use to rebuild Apiati? How much did we use to pay those who conducted the investigation into Apiati? How much are we using to continue to restore, persons whose lives were disrupted to normalcy? So at the end of the day, it is the country that loses. Come to talk about the lives that are lost. We cannot replace them. And no matter how much dollars or cedis we throw at the victims of these families, we cannot replace the lives that are lost. I think these are where we should begin to look at.
Very well. Doc, so hang in there. We have two politicians on the line. John Jinapo, who is a ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, member of Parliament for Yape Kuseu. And we also have the minister responsible for the Western region. His region has been the unfortunate location of 2 or 3 explosions, really. Akwisenim just mentioned the one at Chinese Town. We know about Piatti, and now we know of this Covenando Chrome one, which is around the Anto-Aboso area. We'll take a short break. When we return, we hear from the politicians on what really has been missing and what we can do to resolve these matters. Don't go away.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Intestinal worms may cause itching, abdominal pains, loss of appetite, and anemia. Intestinal worms may enter the body through improperly cooked foods, dust, or contaminated soils. Wormplex 400 is an effective dewormer for both adults and children and can be taken at any time of the day. It is recommended to deworm periodically. 1 tablet of Wormplex 400 kills intestinal worms, roundworms, hookworms, tapeworms, and other intestinal worms. I recommend Wormplex 400 to you because it has worked for my family. Lactating mothers, pregnant women, and children under 2 years should consult their physician before taking Wormplex 400.
Wemplex 400, yeah.
Wemplex 400 as soon as harmful. This advert is FDA approved.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
You're welcome to the point of view. We are looking at the matter of the explosion at the quarry at Kwabena and Okrum near Anto-Aboso in the western region. And we've been speaking to two key persons. We're speaking to our correspondent in the area, Akwesi Nimeje, who has been bringing us a situational report on the ground. We also we just spoke to public safety expert, rightly so, Dr. Nana Yao Akwada, who has been raising some questions about what we've learned, whether we've learned anything at all in the recent incident at Apiate, incidentally in the same region. Now let's speak to the politicians. They control our purse and they essentially make laws to ensure that we are protected. John Jinapo is ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. Honorable, welcome to the program. Just last year, we were having a discussion around Apiate. Less than 1.5 years on, we are experiencing yet another explosion, which is taking 5 lives. The question is there a problem of enforcement, or we do not have stringent laws enough to deal with these problems?
First of all, can I find out whether the minister is on the line?
Yes, I mean, he's yet to join. He was on, but I think he's gone off.
I wanted to find out something. It baffles my mind about the investigation because I thought that this is a national matter, even though it happened in a particular region. I thought that it's a national matter, and I'm surprised that the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the National Security Ministry, is not involved in this major thing. And so that's why I thought that we could talk to him and find out the composition of the membership.
Yes, we'll deal with that just when we have him, yes.
Yeah, certainly if we're talking of licenses, one would have thought that it should be from the national level so we can deal with it. Because this is a major issue. We're talking of explosion, and we're talking of, like you said, what happened at Apiate. I believe that we have enough laws, we have enough regulations. The problem is the enforcement. Certainly this happened in a district. And to talk of a quarry is not an underground activity. And so this idea that they were operating in the night baffles me. How did they get electricity? How did they get ECG to connect them to the grid? You might go and check, and you'll be surprised to know that the district assembly has been taking taxes and levies from this company. I'll be very surprised if this company has been operating without paying the assembly levies. It's clearly a policy failure. It's clearly an enforcement failure, and the impunity. And foreign nationals just come to Ghana and begin to do what they want. And when they are arrested, politicians have the audacity to tell us that, look, there's nothing to gain from prosecuting these foreign nationals. And a clear case is the issue of Ashawan. If our own politicians can tell us that foreign nationals can act with impunity And all we do is to ask them to go back to their country only to find their way back here. And like you said, even with Apiate, nobody was prosecuted. We haven't had any punitive measure except the fine. Then these foreign nationals will believe that even if people die and we break the law, what we would do is to pay a fine. I'm not too sure this matter ought to be handled at the regional level. I thought that it should be escalated at the national level, especially being that this is not the first time we are witnessing this kind of explosions. And like some of the panel members said, there are regulations and laws governing explosions and how they are used. And clearly the initial assessment tells you that there's been a complete breach. I'm not sure anybody can go to China as a foreign national and start operating without the necessary licenses. They don't have the mining license. They don't have the environmental permit. And I'm asking that, so the chief executive there, what's he doing? That people can just move into your district and start operating, and you claim that they're operating in the night. A quarry has to do with a huge infrastructure. A quarry is not like an underground operation where people move in the night, and by daytime you won't see them. Any quarry you see, you would see huge equipment that's used to crush the stones, and I'm very surprised that we are getting to this level. My worry is that once again, this investigation would generate a report that will gather dust. And in about some few months or years, we'll come back discussing another explosion.
I see. Let me speak to the minister now, the minister for the Western region, Kwabena Ochre Dako Mensa, Honorable. He has had 2 or 3 of these explosions in his region. I'm sure by now he's been developing some expertise as far as managing these matters are concerned. Honorable, welcome to the program. First of all, we understand that you've moved swiftly to set up a committee to investigate this particular explosion. And among their terms of reference, they are to bring to the fore the cause of the incident and make recommendations as to how we can prevent these things in the future. What is the composition of this committee, and why should the committee be at a regional level? We thought it should be escalated rather to the national level.
First and foremost, I believe that decentralization is part of the governance structure of this country. The Western Regional Security Council has a mandate to protect life and property. So this falls directly within our remit to protect life and property. The composition of the committee is made up of the regional director, that's the EPA, we have the Mineral Commission, we also have the Assembly, both the NADMO and then the Works Department, who are all there, and the NADMO to help us resolve this problem. So the reason why we set it up at the regional level is that it's within our mandate to protect life and property. And we need to understand the causes of this problem. You do understand that this is not a new mine. This is an old mine that has been bought by a Ghanaian. So my understanding was that they are going through the licensing process, and this has happened. So even though we've not gotten their license, they were in the process. That's the brief I've been given.
So they were in the process, which meant what? They were mining or they were clearing the place. Of course, the statement from the regional Minerals Commission made us understand that they were engaged in what they call clearing. They were actually clearing the place for work to start. And the question is whether they start clearing and preparatory works. And the question is whether they needed license to begin the site clearing and the preparatory works, and why they would do that if indeed they needed license.
Basically, you should understand that the licensing process have different options. Because, for instance, EPA will do their licensing differently. The Assembly will do their licensing differently. And then the Minerals Commission, apart from the lead, will also have to give you what we call the mining and business result. So there are different legs to the licensing regime that the companies have to go through to be fully licensed. So depending on what the Minerals Commission was expecting of them, if they have breached the rules, definitely they are going to tell us. Then we can return from there.
I see. But the Minerals Commission is quite clear that the guys were operating without permit or without license, which obviously is in breach of the law.
Yes, that is the fact.
But many are concerned. Your colleague John Jinapor, for example, is blaming this on policy and enforcement failure. He thinks that we have enough laws, which is the case, but the problem has been with enforcement. You are in the executive. Enforcement really is your forte. Why is it that the agencies under your purview, for example, the Regional Minerals Commission, the Regional EPA, etc., slept on the job, for the want of a better word, and we saw, or we've experienced this and we've seen this happen? That really doesn't look good for you as a man at the top.
Not at all.
In terms of the region.
You know that these regional organizations don't work directly to me. They work directly to Accra. So if they have had difficulties, they have reported it to us that they're having this difficulty with this person. Two, you should also understand that since they have not been licensed to a state, there was no way they should have even gone to buy the explosives in the open market, because all those who sell explosives are known by the Minerals Commission, and they will recommend things to buy from them. So sometimes you also have to blame the operators. Why they be doing this? That is something the Minerals Commission, which is supposed to give them a license and regulate them.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, because we know that not just anybody could go to the market and buy the explosives. So if this company or entity or enterprise, as we understand they are, did not have or does not have a permit, how come they were able to get the explosives? Is your investigation, extending to where they got the explosives for as well, so they can also be made to face the music?
Yes. If you remember, about 2 weeks ago, the DNI did a scoop. The original DNI did a scoop in the Western region. We were able to arrest somebody who put before the court for having this nitrate without transmission. So we did the first one, which was 150. The second one was 500. So it's an ongoing process to track and then arrest those who are buying the chemicals on the market. So it's something that it goes on for the time.
I see. I'm not sure how stringent these punishments are in terms of the penalty units, but Apiate, we've not seen the end of Apiate. We've not seen the end of Apiate yet. What will you say is the lessons we've learned from Apiate? We've not seen the reports. We don't know what is in there. We don't know what the implementation is. We don't know what's happening so far with the reconstruction of the town. Bring us up to speed on what has been happening on Apiate.
Currently, the construction is ongoing. Some of the buildings have been completed. It's expected that the infrastructure will also be built. That has also been awarded to a contractor. When it comes to the main issue about the explosives, I believe that there was a committee established, and the report is at the ministry, which you can get. Secondly, you also know that the company that was involved in that PhD company has been in existence for a very long time. Over time, and they are competent. And then this accident happened, leading to the EPA to give new directives, and then the Minerals Commission also giving some new directives. So I believe that the companies and the owners of these companies have to be up and doing, because when these blasts happen, it also costs them a lot of money and costs human lives. So they themselves have to sit up, because being bad safety measures compared to safety measures also will cost them a lot of money. So I believe that as business people, they should learn to stay cost on these accidents instead of allowing them to happen.
I know you've been interacting with your counterparts in the police service. I mean, the police service, they work. I mean, you are the chairman of the Regional Security Council. Do you have the impression from them whether we will see a situation where those found culpable will be prosecuted? I know it's early days yet, but do you get that indication from them?
Yes, I think I have said it earlier, even on Sunday I said it. But I also do believe that when it gets to the court will also do justice to the matter initially, because if you also don't punish
Can I make a point?
People will take it for granted and then do the same again to create more problems for all of them.
All right, just hang in there. John, I think you wanted to make a quick point.
Yeah. First of all, let me thank Minister. I guess that he's trying to do something. But see, it brings back to what I said. When you asked him about the Minerals Commission and those people, he said they don't wake up to him. And that for me is very, very instructive. That they don't wake up to him, they wake up to Accra.
Well, yes, because of the technical work they do. It's because of the technical work they do. They wake up to the Minerals Commission in Accra. And then
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's a policy failure you talked about. Is that a policy failure you talked about?
Yes. So if there's an issue of a failure, for instance, on the part of the regional representative of Minerals Commission, I'm not too sure that the regional minister can sanction that person. The sanctioning regime will come from Accra, which is the Minerals Commission itself. If the EPA rep in Western region failed to do his work, I'm not sure that the regional minister will be sanctioning him, because like he himself said, they don't wake up to him directly. If you had a federal system, then you could have all these people recruited by the governor, who would then be the regional minister. And that's why I raised this issue, whether it wouldn't have been more effective if all of them had collaborated so that we have a national investigation, which is not even just restricted to Western region, but then you'll even be finding out whether there are other quarries in other regions who are also operating without licenses. Be that as it may, let's see how this investigation goes. But clearly, Minister, there's been a lapse. If there were no lapses, this wouldn't happen.
Very well. I think he admits that.
Yeah, but I think that...
I think Minister admits that.
So you all have a difficulty with a unitary state.
No, I'm not sure this is a discussion about whether Ghana should remain a unitary state or a federal. I mean, that's a whole different discussion.
Based on your argument you're
We're
making,
not there yet. It's not
if you
about
have
the
to all
governance
collaborate,
architecture.
and then people don't work up to the minister directly on the technical issues, it has to be a national matter or to the governor. Then we have to change the constitution.
I mean, that's not. I mean, maybe. I think that's a bigger issue. So I think your point is clear that the Western Regional Security Council has a mandate to protect the people, etc. And so that is the mandate upon which you've done it. That's fine. Let's take a short break. I'll return and I'll take your closing remarks, and then we'll call it a day.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Finally, anyone can become a house owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated values, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
You're welcome back to the point of view, the final lap of the program, where I give 1 minute each to my 4 guests to show us the way forward. The minister will have the last word on this. Let me start off with Akwesi. I started with Akwesi. You are in the area. What is happening? What do you think should be done for the people in the area? 45 seconds, 1 minute.
Salam, I don't know if I got you well, but if it is to do with what should be done for the people, I would say currently they need support in terms of those who have had some of their structures being weakened by this impact from the disaster. And so they need financial support. But one of the overriding concerns they have is the fact that the area has a lot of quarries scattered all over the place. And if this is the kind of enforcement or a regulation that we are going to witness, where regulators are saying that these illegalities happen in the night, and for that matter, it happens at their blind side, then the people are not going to be safe going forward.
Very
if
well.
Our regulators are going to say that they can't monitor or regulate the activities of this people even in the night, then these people are not going to be safe. And so they are calling on the states to really take a second look at their regulation.
Very well. Doc, so you've heard the minister, you've heard the MP, ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee. Your final words on this?
Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank John for, intervening the way he did, because I was going to intervene. I believe that I was going to be a bit more fiery. So his intervention really, he asked the questions I wanted to ask, and in a more civil manner. Thank you, John. Look, Salom, this incident involves a restricted substance, okay? We will need the Ministry of National Security to be interested. This issue must be escalated beyond the borders of a regional or beyond the ambit of a regional minister. There is no negotiation about that. If you are serious about security and public safety. 2, I know this call will probably not be heard. No one is going to act on it, but it's still worthy of calling that for these 2 incidents to occur on the watch of, persons who are the helm of affairs in any civilized institution or a country, the chief executive of the Minerals Commission will be asked to take a back seat. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources will also be asked to take a back seat. Not on your watch should we ever spend so much money dealing with one problem that is recurring. It should never happen.
Very well.
The state have lost so much and will continue. As the minister indicated to you, Apiate is still under construction, and then this is on our hands. Secondly, government must act in such a way to, dissipate the impression that some of us have that they are creating a certain phenomena of disasterpreneurship, where disasters occur on the watch of, state officials, and those state officials are the same ones who live through, procurement contracts to rebuild.
Very well.
So there is no incentive for anybody to work hard to avoid his market burning or an explosion taking off in his backyard, because at the end of the day, he will still be in the seat and will now be at the point of awarding contracts and benefiting off it.
Doc,
so we must take action on these.
Thank you so much, Doc. Honorable Jinapo, 30 seconds of closing remarks. The minister, we've lost him. Yes, quickly.
Maybe I should have given my time to Doc, because Doc is dealing with
I think it's on a roll. Yes. Just 10 seconds here.
I wanted to ask Minister whether he will make the report public.
Thank you.
I mean, that means a lot to me, because if you set up these committees publicly, you announce it to everybody, they submit a report, and you decide that you make it public, then there was no need informing us that you are setting up a committee. So for me, that's the most important thing. I just wanted to ask Minister, can you give us your word that you will make this report public.
Very well.
At least we all can read it and make some.
Yes, and I think you're in Parliament as well, so I'm sure you can cause him to make the report available to the representatives of the people. That will be very important, given that historically these reports have not been made public. Thank you guys so much, Dr. Nanayo Akwada, Executive Director, Bureau of Public Safety, John Jinapo, MP Yape Kuseu, Ranking Member, Energy and Mines Committee, and Kwabna Ochri, Dakumensa, Western Regional Minister, you heard him, and also Akweseni Meje, our correspondent in the Western region. Thanks to you so much for your messages. This one from Richard Barr says, people are sleeping on the job and turned a blind eye to gross breaches of the system and procedures. That is from Richard Barr. Kobidan says the minister is not being truthful. He's a tipper truck driver and he works on that place, that land every now and then, and so the people are working, and he says CCTV should send reporters there to check. Thank you so much for doing the viewing. My name is Selom Adunu, asserting for your regular host, Bernard Kokoable. Have a good evening.